Hello, welcome back to the FOF pod. Now, I will excuse myself at the start of the show. I am incredibly ill. I've caught a bug that Matt had a few weeks ago, not from Matt, but it's the same thing. Um, so we're all experiencing a bit of germ warfare here at FOF HQ.
Mm.
But before Matt heads to the States for SHOT Show 26, as he always does in January, we have this month's Patreon pick to take care of, which is 1999's Three Kings.
Yeah, this is one that Robbie's been pushing for us to do for quite a long time. He's put it into, at this point, I think maybe half a dozen Patreon pick votes,
Sporadically, yeah.
and it's finally come good. I thought it was really interesting. We both went for like GWAT era, or like, well, obviously Three Kings
Yeah.
isn't GWAT era, but I went for an Iraq War Two film. You went for a Gulf War film. Iraq War
It's
Two,
our first big
Iraq
war
War.
in
Yeah.
our like growing up was our first big conflict, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I barely remember it, and you weren't born, but yeah.
No, I mean Gulf War Two. I mean G
Oh,
War.
Gulf War, yeah, yeah.
No, I'm really pleased to have won the first Patreon pick of the year. That was
Congratulations. It's,
unexpected.
it's a long time coming. It's well
I know,
deserved.
right? I think because you were way ahead. I think we've wiped the scores for this year, and we'll just
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, we'll start again. Clean sheet for the year.
Matt. I was firmly behind.
I
Anyway,
had no idea how far ahead I was in the States. My word.
that was wild. That was crazy.
Insane.
Anyway. So the hypnosis of this one, at the end of the first Gulf War, three US soldiers decide to rob a massive cache of gold reportedly hidden close to their military base. Their journey to find gold leads to unanticipated discoveries. Hoo hoo, bit of Kelly's Heroes there.
Yeah, well, that's what we always say, isn't it? That's the one film we always liken it to, really, is Kelly's Heroes as a
But then it's really not.
kind of modern Kelly's Heroes. Yeah, well,
Yeah.
it kind of leans into some of the beats and then goes off in its own path, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does. It really does. More on that later. So I'm on cast this week. So kicking off the cast, we have George Clooney as Major Archie Gates, a special forces officer who convinces Troy and Elgin to go after the gold in a role that was originally meant for Clint Eastwood, then Nicolas Cage, with the role eventually going back to Clooney after Russell, the director, had reservations on casting what he deemed a TV actor,
Mm.
despite by 1999-98 when this was filmed, having been Batman in George Clooney.
Yeah, yeah. I'm sure
It's-
their relationship went from strength to strength, though, right?
It didn't, no.
Oh,
More on that
what a shock.
later. Yeah, they famously fell out after the movie came out and during. Um, because apparently Russell's a bit hard to work with and Clooney didn't like him. Anyway, so Clooney, of course, is a two-time Oscar winner. I won't go into many of his roles because you all know who he is. But he's with us in the Oceans franchise. He's had some war film roles in 1998's Thin Red
Hmm.
Line, The Men Who Stare at Goats, which I see as a semi-sequel to this. It's very similar. Um,
I haven't
we'll
seen it
do
in
that
quite
one
a
later
while,
on.
but
It's quite. I
I did.
liked it when
Yeah,
I saw
I
it.
said that, didn't we? We said that.
Yeah. And the Monuments Men. Then we have Troy Barnes, U.S. Army Civil Affairs Reservist, played by Mark Wahlberg. Um, Astonishingly, Mark Wahlberg is an Oscar nominee. He has one more war movie role ish. He's in the 1994 Danny DeVito military comedy Renaissance Man.
Oh yeah, and Lone
Yeah,
Survivor.
Lone Survivor and Shooter. So he's got a couple
Mm.
in there.
Surprisingly, he hasn't done more, really, isn't it? Given what he kind of goes for.
Yeah, you'd think. Yeah. Next up, we have Staff Sergeant Chief Elgin, played by Ice Cube. He's a rapper, formerly of the NWA, and his seminal solo albums. Today was a good day. I'm sure you've all heard it. FOF fans, I'm sure you're all gangster rap fans.
Of course.
Um, of course, yeah. He obviously turned, well, obviously, he turned to acting in the mid 90s with Boys in the Hood, Friday. Matt loves this one, Ghost of Mars.
Oh yeah, Ghosts of Mars. Oh,
Terrible,
what a film that
terrible
is.
film. So
What a
bad.
what an absolute classic.
I reckon we could get it in for war movie adjacent.
You're not wrong. Actually, you could actually do that. I think you could. Mm.
I think we could. 21 Jump Street reboots and the War of the Worlds remake, of course, from
Of
last year.
course, a FOF favorite. FOF
Sensational.
certified favorite there.
Yeah.
That's an incredible film.
A real FOF
One of the
classic.
best Amazon Prime adverts I've ever seen.
It was so good. Then we have Private First Class Conrad Vig, played by Spike Jones, the Oscar-winning director and sometimes actor. This film being one of his early roles. He also pops up in the Jackass films. Directing-wise, he helmed the award-winning Her in 2013, beating John Malkovich, and has written
Hmm.
all of the Jackass films to date. Didn't know they needed
Someone
a
has to.
writer. Yeah, I know,
Yeah.
right?
Someone has to come
Then
up with
then Johnny Knoxville hurts
the
himself
deep
again.
plots of the Jackass films.
Times 10. Done.
Hit a man with a giant hand,
Yeah, exactly.
or
Oh,
whatever
they're
it
good
was.
fun. They're good
Yeah.
fun.
There's a new one
Adriana,
coming. Everyone's
there is a
excited,
new
I'm
one.
sure.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Johnny
Uh,
Knoxville's hip getting broken in real time.
Adriana Cruz is up next in the cast, the NBS war correspondent, played by Nora Dunn. She's a former SNL cast member from 1985 to 1990. Film works include Zoolander, Laws of Attraction, and the Entourage movie, with some TV work in Futurama, I Am Weasel, and Chicago Med. What a
Okay.
weird one.
Mm.
Then we have Colonel Ron Horn as Archie's commanding officer, played by
Yeah.
Mickatelli Williamson, or
He's great.
Mykelti. Yeah, Mykelti Williamson, perhaps best known for playing Bubba in Forrest Gump.
Mm.
Other roles include Con Air and
One of Al
Heat.
Pacino's favorite actors of the
I
90s.
absolutely loves him, doesn't he? He said that
Yeah.
he was robbed for Forrest Gump, wasn't he? He's
Yeah.
like, and
Yeah.
that's how he got the Heat role because
Yeah. Amazing.
Pacino really wanted him. It's a great. If you can find that story online, folks, that's brilliant. But he's also an uncredited extra in the Delta Force. And the TV credits include the 1997 TV Western Buffalo Soldiers, 12 Angry Men in 1997 with a TV adaptation, which is really good. Then we have Cliff Curtis playing Amir Abdullah, a Shiite rebel that Archie and the lads bump into when they find all the Iraqi refugees.
Mm.
He's a New Zealand-born actor
He
with
is.
roles in Training Day, Collateral Damage, Live Free or Die Hard, the Die Hard, is it Die Hard 4?
Yeah.
The terrible one.
Mhm.
Yeah, the fifth one's awful as well.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
then we
Diminishing
have
returns.
awful. Then we have Saeed Maui. Sorry, I'm butchering these Iraqi names. As Captain Saeed.
It's okay.
Um,
We slaughtered the German ones last
we
week.
did. We
I
got
can
told
only
off.
apologise again for
Sorry.
that.
Yeah.
We will endeavour to do better. I do appreciate
The-
that we are not good at this.
yeah.
We're just not our
To our
forte.
German listeners in Germany, we are very sorry. We will do better. Thank you for your email.
I mean, it's not just the German names we butcher. We tend to do terribly with any names it's just bad, isn't
I
it?
mean,
Really, but
this
anyway.
week I barely have a grasp on the English language because I'm so
Well,
ill.
everyone
So
knows we always struggle with English bad enough. That's true. Yeah.
was when I got a C at GCSE for English language, and my dad famously went, "How can you get not an A? You speak the fucking thing," which was brilliant. Anyway, Saeed is a French-born actor of Moroccan descent, an early role in the French film La Haine in 1995, which is fantastic. Western work includes The West Wing, Lost, and a feature in David O. Russell's American Hustle when
The
that
Russell
came out.
connection.
Yeah, and that's pretty much a cast. I mean,
Yeah.
there's lots of uncredited genuine Iraqi immigrants that lived in
Yeah.
America
Yeah.
playing the
Refugees and immigrants and stuff. Yeah.
Iraqi civilians. Yeah, but quite a tight cast. So production.
Yeah. Production side of things. Again, not too much. It's quite tight as well. In fact, as we've already mentioned, David O. Russell nominated for 5 Academy Awards. Would you believe?
Damn.
He both directed and wrote the screenplay for the film. He's best known for some of his more recent stuff like Silver Linings Playbook, American Hustle, and I quite enjoyed Amsterdam recently. That was quite a good one with Christian Bale.
Yeah, they throw Taylor Swift under the car. That one.
Yeah,
Yeah, I've not seen
I
it.
believe that's it. Yeah, I saw it on a plane about 3 years ago, and I quite enjoyed it. Story was by John Ridley, who won an Oscar for the best screenplay for 12 Years a Slave, and he also wrote Red Tails in 2012, which we've covered on the show. Cinematography was handled by Newton Thomas Siegel. His war movie credits include 2008's Valkyrie with Tom Cruise and the 2020 The Five Bloods, which we need to do on the show. Interesting Vietnam movie. Then we have the score and music for the film was provided by Carter Burwell, another Oscar nominee. Regularly works with the Coen brothers, Martin McDonagh, and Bill Condon. He's got a really interesting credit list. If you take a look through that, you'll see lots of repeat work with different directors and lots of really interesting films of all sorts of different genres. It's a bit of a wonder that he hasn't won an Oscar with the number of quite prominent movies that he's scored over the years. He also worked on Alamo 2004,
Blimey.
which I quite enjoyed. Billy Bob Thornton's in that.
This movie is chocker with Oscar people, isn't it?
Yeah, it's got a decent pedigree. Budget of 48 million, and made a box office return of 107.7 million.
Decent.
There was a Iraqi technical advisor, Samid al-Sharif, and then there were a number of US military background kind of technical advisors, a Colonel King Davis, a Sergeant Major Jim Parker, and a John Rutger. This is primarily their only kind of credit in terms of like advising on films. They couldn't find out exactly what their background was, but there was a fairly extensive boot camp for this, I believe.
Yes.
While we don't see a great deal of that, there is a deleted scene where they do like a bounding assault on one of the takes on, I think they're attacking the prison that Mark Wahlberg's held in. And they do like a bounding assault. Yeah. But they went with a different take on that, or it was a different location. But there is video of it out there. It's actually quite interesting to watch. But yeah, so they did do like a little bit of a boot camp, and you can kind of see that the way that they handle firearms, and the way that, especially the way that George Clooney carries himself, being a former Delta captain, now a major, 3 tabs. I think he's airborne, ranger, and special forces tabbed. So there's a nice little bit where he like disarms an Iraqi guy and just like drops him with relative ease. That's actually really good. It was filmed in Arizona, and some sources also say Mexico and California locations were also used, but I believe predominantly Arizona. Around November 98 to February 99 are the filming dates that I could find. And as you've already mentioned, a lot of the Iraqi extras were played by Iraqi refugees who had moved to the US. It's an interesting one. I thought I would find some credits in there that would kind of like hint at the really interesting cinematography choices that are made and the practical effects sort of thing. Because one of the most interesting things about the film is obviously Newton Thomas Siegel's a really accomplished cinematographer, but they decided to go with some really interesting kind of choices in terms of how they filmed it. They were using like steady cams, which was becoming fairly normal at this point, but they were aiming to give it that journalistic feel, the kinetic running around feel, and that does work. But then also some of the film stock and developing of the film stock choices, using Ektachrome transparency stock, which you have to do like a really complex exposure and development process, and a lot of it the insurance companies wouldn't insure the fact that they would be able to do it successfully. So there was some concern around that. But I think it turns out really interesting because I read, I think it was on IMDb, I think, or it was in one of the interviews I read, Russell talks about how he wanted to capture that kind of high contrast imagery of the Gulf, so you get the bright blue skies, the kind of rich, warm yellows, but also with like quite a heavy amount of contrast to uniform photos and vehicles. So you see those photos of bent out vehicles, and they're a very rich black color, and the burning oil wells, and set against the blue sky, and the
expansive feeling of the desert as well is in there. Yeah.
So in terms of cinematography, they really leaned into that to try and capture that kind of colour and evoke the memory of the war. You know, from
That
because
feel. Yeah.
at the time it was the most televised conflict there'd ever been, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So people had this sort of mind's eye kind of
Yeah.
idea of what the Gulf War looked like
Yeah, like those
from watching it on
MBS.
CRT monitors.
Yeah.
You know,
Which
and
is meant to be like
seeing
CBS or whatever. Like
yeah, yeah,
if you go on YouTube, you literally can watch hours of Desert Storm TV footage. But I
hours and
think
hours.
they really capture it really well in the movie, and it's not overdone either. It feels quite baked in and real. I quite like that. How
They
she's kind
do.
of following them, but not really following them. It's
Yeah,
quite
it's a,
good.
kind of like two road movies,
Yeah, it
like
is.
almost
Yeah.
instantaneous. And then finally, the only other thing I wanted to mention and touch on was the use of some practical effects to create those kind of internal body
Yes.
sequences that are so striking.
They're great.
You know, when he explains sepsis from bullet wounds, and when Wahlberg's character gets that sucking chest wound,
Yeah.
and, you know, and the lung collapsing and the bile filling the
It's very
wound in
casually,
the
isn't
first act.
it? Yeah.
It's really interesting. I remember being so creeped out by that as a kid when I watched this when I was
Yeah, it
probably
was
like
good.
11 or 12. I was like,
Yeah.
ooh, the bile. But
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
so
great.
interesting stylistic choices with this one.
I do. I like it. I think I was going to mention that internal shots of the organs in the alley tally, but I've probably done it now. But anyway, on to the retro review, which is back, and also back is Roger Ebert. Good old Roger Ebert. We've
Ah,
missed him.
marvelous.
So October 4th, 1999. He says Three Kings is some kind of weird masterpiece, a screw loose war picture that sends action and humour crashing head onto each other and spinning off into political anger. It has the freedom and recklessness of an Oliver Stone or Robert Altman film in their Mad Dog days, as a visual style that hungers for impact. A lot of movies show bodies being hit by bullets. This one sends the camera inside to show a bullet cavity filling up with bile. Three Kings
Mm.
is one of the best movies of the year. 4 stars.
I think that's interesting. I think if you take it from a 1998 perspective, then I think, yeah, I think this is really, you know, different. It's a different approach.
For 99, yeah.
It's got that indie kind of vibe and approach to it. And at this point, of course, like
Isn't it Russell's biggest
it is,
project
it
today, like
is.
in 99?
At that point, Warner Brothers had never given an independent director the kind of carte blanche that they gave Russell to make this. At the time, it was a big move for them.
Yeah.
So I think it's really interesting to kind of, if you would contextualize this as being late 90s, you've got Wes Anderson starting to come through as well and do kind of off the wall independent stuff. You've got Russell, you've got
Kevin Smith, people like
Kevin
that.
Smith doing things like that. Yeah, you got lots of these kind of like screwball, oddball,
Yeah.
indie approaches to things. And I think taking a war movie, the genre, and subjecting it to that kind of
Yeah.
filmmaker is really interesting. And now we're kind of used to seeing war movies that are kind of almost surrealist comedies in a lot of ways. Like if
Yeah.
you take Men Who Stare at Goats, and I think the
Or like
upcoming
War Machine with Brad Pitt
War
on
Machine's
Netflix.
a really good example of a GWAT movie that kind of takes that approach as well. And I think we'll probably see it again this year with Artropia.
Yes, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, I am too. And I
Interestingly enough,
think
the girl out of that is in this. She plays
she
Amir's
is.
daughter
Yeah,
in the
yeah. And
illicit role.
I had no idea.
Yeah,
Alia Sharkat, isn't it?
that's it. Yes, yes. We
Yeah,
should.
I'm excited for Artropia. I think that's
Me
going to
too.
be good. I
No
think
word on
the trailer looks solid.
Yeah, you can read about that movie in Real Report, the Fighting on Film magazine.
You can, in
Free to
fact.
download on our Patreon, totally gratis. You don't even have to be a paid member. Just join up for free and download it and read. What a good plug. And with that plug, it's time for the one-word reviews. So thank you very much for all your replies. So Paul Hicks kicks us off, friend of the show. He says Jones. Spike Jones, of course.
With a Z.
AD Bond with a Z. AD Bond goes amusing. Paul says bags, those Louis Vuitton bags with the gold in. Paul Duggan goes, wasn't this a remake of The Man Who Would Be King, or did I imagine it?
Oh, interesting idea. I like that.
Yeah, a little bit.
I can see a little
Bits in there.
bit of that in there. Hmm.
Matt Smith goes foot. Ian Mays goes with luggage again. Adam Brown says caper. Pete the Paint goes gold. Tim Dill, dynamite. Stephen O'Neill, brilliant. And Khan, it's not one word, but we'll do it anyway. He says George Bush wants yo. More on the post 9/11 GWAT feel to this movie in the final thoughts later, because I do think there is something to be said about that. Anyway, and thanks for those one word reviews. More next week. So on to this week's Ali Tally.
It's time for Ali Tally on Fighting on Film.
Ooh, there's a lot to talk about here, and Robbie's going to go off.
Holy. Now, the American Army of the early 90s is fascinating to me. Done a whole heap of research on it. However, this week my brain is assaulted by illness, so bear with me. Choc chip camo, fantastic. Interesting enough, this is the only war that it gets used in. Choc chip camo,
famously made for the
Arizona
American
desert.
deserts.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. Yeah, so it's probably the way they film this in Arizona is quite funny.
Yeah,
'Cause it's designed for those very
super
same
effective. I couldn't see them
terrain.
half the time.
Yeah, I think I've mentioned it before on the show, but that then was superseded by the desert BDUs, the six color stuff, really soon after. There's even some tangential stuff to say that there was experimental versions of that BDU on Desert Storm, but I've never found a direct quote to that.
Interesting.
You've got like Digicam night parkers in that early sequence where the guy's wearing the nods. And he's like, it's not even night time.
There's a bit where the guy driving the buggy, the Chenworth Advanced Light Strike Vehicle.
Yeah, so much cool stuff in this.
Which is really cool to turn up, which is like a Special Forces buggy, which we're used. He's wearing one at one point as well.
Yeah, they're really cool. It does a really good job of showing the scale.
Well, it's the same
of that.
guy, but he wears it in two different scenes.
Yeah,
Anyway.
he shows the movie does a really good job. I think unintentionally, perhaps, but it does a really good job of showing the scale of the American troop build-up in Iraq in '91. Because there's everything in this. You've got big bases, every single vehicle under the sun, Hummers, trucks. There's no tank. You don't see any tanks, but they might as well be in there. You've got the Iraqis as well.
No American ones, anyway.
No American tanks, no. I love Clooney's Beretta M9 that he pulls from the Alice pouch.
Well, they all
really
have them,
cool.
don't they? It's great.
Really nice. Clooney's Colt Model 727 that predates the M4 carbine because they've just about not been adopted yet in '91.
Yeah.
A couple of years out there. Yeah, really nice to see. And there is some great weapons on the when the rebels, not the rebels, the refugees who are rebels, I guess, because it's set during the uprising.
Shiites, aren't they?
They get
refugees.
They get their sort of gun stash out, and they give Clooney and his band some AKMs, I think. But there's SMLEs in there. There's Mosins, Kar 98Ks, and a blink and you'll miss it. And I had to go on IMDb to actually see if I'd seen it or not, because I watched the first half of this movie after a few beers and I kind of forgot. So I had to rewatch massive chunks of this movie the other night. But there's a jungle carbine.
There is.
In there.
There's a big lad in the background with one, isn't there?
Yeah, and we've not mentioned a jungle carbine on the show since the first episode with Theirs Is the Glory. It's been a long time.
Really?
Yeah.
God, there wasn't even one in the Malay movie with Jack Hawkins, was there?
It was not. No, you think there would be? Yeah. You've got. I like the surrender cards. You see, they're really
the surrender
cool.
cards are cool, aren't they?
But my most alias pick, and I'll probably talk about the Iraqi stuff in a minute. I want to let Matt jump in, but it's those NFL football bombs. They're so cool.
Oh yeah,
they're so cool. Yeah,
really
I love
cool
them.
stuff.
They're such a kind of indie movie kind of way of doing it. I kind of like it, and they have the chat about the quarterbacks and things, and they're yeeting these bombs out the back of the Hummer. It's great. I love it. Anyway, Matt, sorry, let you jump in.
What else have we got? We got M60 on the Humvee, RPKs. There's a Dushka at one point. There's a nice little bit where an Iraqi like T-54, 55 turns up.
Yep.
I think it is, and
one of the few
T-72.
that hadn't been knocked out.
One of the few. Yeah, last surviving Iraqi T-72 turns up. And Spike Jones kind of like pops out the Humvee, goes, "Law, sir," and he like extends a law.
It's great.
M72 law, and he's like, "No, we're going." which was really quite funny. And then I quite like the mortar sequence where they drop CS gas mortar shells on them.
Yeah, that's good.
That was interesting. And then there's all the way through the film, Jones is carrying this like
his revolver,
410 shotgun revolver.
It's amazing, yeah.
Which I know more recently as like a tourist thing, tourist judge. But IMFDB has it down as a Mill Thunder 5, which is an earlier version.
You get
of
that
it.
cool flashback of him in his hillbilly trailer, like shooting it
with the slung off 870. I think it was
cool.
like shooting the. There's a nice little couple of sequences of him using that, and one of the things I really like is he shuts the door of one of the cars they steal or buy, and he's like, how do I get that out? And they're in the middle of a gunfight.
Yeah.
And he's like, and the audience is thinking, just smash the window. And he's like, what do I do? Do I smash the window? And he kind of pauses because it's a nice car. And then the car's hit by a fusillade of fire and the window shatters and he just kind of leans in and takes the pistol again.
It's good. I like it. Talking them cars though, those Mercedes are alley, aren't they?
Yeah.
The sequence
really cool.
of them trying to get them from those kind of rebelling soldiers, and Clooney gives this big rousing speech of "United, we can do it together, like together as one," and he's going, "Yeah," and he gets them to like cheer and stuff, and then the guy goes, "Can't give you the cars," and then Clooney just looks at him and goes, "We'll buy them," and then it smash cuts to them driving them out. It's such a good little sequence.
I've got a bit of a list of what they are. So there's a
shitbox rundown with Matthew Moss.
Shitbox rundown. Let's go. There's a 1980 Jaguar XJ6.
Oh,
yeah, a Mercedes SLK or SK, I think it is actually. Like a 126. And then there's the Infinity, which they talk about all the time. And he goes, "Is this an Infinity? Is this? Did they make this in a did Lexus do this? Like, no, it's just Infinity."
Those two Iraqis just go, "No, Infinity. And he's just like, "Told you." It's great.
Then there's like a 70s roller, like a Silver Shadow in there. And what else is there? Oh God, there's like a big Lincoln limo as well.
Yeah, it's great
that they have rolling around. But there's loads of really cool stuff in there. But that's Shitbox Roundup with Matt for this week.
Love it.
That's what I can identify at least.
Because you don't often see them depicted in film. I mean, more so after this. But the first Gulf War doesn't have that many movies made on it, which is intriguing. Really, there is a few, but the makeup of the Iraqi troops that you see is decent enough. They're wearing like a mix of kind of Chicom kit and equipment, but with 57 pattern webbing. And interestingly enough, Iraq bought a lot of stuff from the British MOD in the 70s and 80s when we had no money. We famously sold them a lot of our Desert DPM, which we then didn't have enough of to fight them in 1991. Which there's a great anecdote on a BFBS podcast about the guy who owned Marks and Spencer's was friends with the guy in procurement in the MOD, and he went, "Well, I can run you off DPM in our factories." So there's a whole heap of apparently Marks and Spencer's made Desert
St.
DPM
Michael
with army contract numbers on them, and we always keep
St.
thinking,
Michael made.
We always think when me and Matt see a Desert DPM jacket, we think, is that an M&S one? Because you never know, because it's got an army contract on it, but it's just an interesting little thing. But no, I think they have a good mishmash of their kit.
Yeah, Pascat body armor as well gets
it's nice.
A good feature in this.
It's decent enough, yeah.
Guys, the M81 chemical suits, the woodland chemical suits they put on when they're going to do the heist. They do the heist practice and the cow blows up.
It's cool.
Yeah.
But there's a whole heap in it. It's really good. It really sets the tone well, I think. Interesting, it's not even a Gulf War movie. It's a post-Gulf War movie, which is even weirder. This is the only one about the Iraqi uprising. Anyway, so I think that brings us into favourite scenes.
I'm Captain Dale Dye, and you're listening to Fighting on Film.
Mine is the initial kind of, well, not the initial, but the actual heist where they realise that other silo or bunker is underneath the well, and it cuts to Clooney realizing that the guys like loitering around the well had like combat boots on and DPM trousers and stuff.
Yeah.
And they go in and they rush through and they capture all the Iraqi dudes and stuff. That's one of my favorite scenes. And then I also really like the sequence with Mark Wahlberg's character and his Iraqi captor,
I've got that down.
kind of junior officer.
Yeah.
I think that's a really great scene. I think it's some of Mark Wahlberg's best work.
It is, because I think we forget that he has some good turns in his career. He's more of an actioner guy now, but he did initially have some great turns, like with Boogie Nights, and this is another one. Me and Matt always say this is one of Mark's best. Those scenes are great.
I always tell him, I say, Mark, it's one of your best.
Yeah, when you jump on one of his hamburgers.
Yeah, exactly. I had to buy one of those in Boston.
Oh, you've had a Wahlburger? Wow.
I've had a Wahlburger, and it was disappointing because it arrived cold. Because I was ill. I was ill in Boston. Both Laura and I were ill in Boston, and we couldn't be bothered leaving the hotel.
Right.
So we got like an Uber Eats, and they delivered it, and like part of the order was missing, and part of it was cold, and I was like, "It's down the road. Like, how did you do this?" Like,
only on FOF could you have a tangent about burgers in Boston.
Yeah,
incredible.
Exactly.
That's a great sequence.
I do think it's really strong, and I love the little discussion they have. And he goes like, "I'm a father," and he goes, "Well, I'm not. My baby's dead.
Yeah,
you kill my baby."
And you get those two scenes of the kid being blown up, and then you get
flashbacks. Yeah.
Then you get Mark thinking about his child being blown up, and they're not so different. Mark and Captain Saeed, Troy and Saeed, I think. But
I just love the way he's like, "My main man, bro."
Yeah,
I just love the way he gives him the whole, leans into
Americanized
it. It's just,
chat.
Yeah. It's just a really well written scene.
I've got a bit more on that here, because I think that says a lot about American foreign policy at the time, like and the war itself, where they kind of blew everything up, and didn't really think about the kind of morality of it all. And that sequence is great because he has those parallels between them being family men and how he feels the
just
war.
Before you go on, there's a lot of that in the film. There's a lot, like they're leaving the Shiites to Saddam. A lot of people are thinking that they're going to go after Saddam, but they don't. And that's one of the big historical what ifs.
That was the big fallout of the Gulf War.
Yeah.
We kind of just left.
There's a lot of discussion around that
Massively
in the film.
So.
Carry on.
So no, that's fine. So it's a little bit of production, I guess, but obviously the film was released in 1999, pre 9/11, pre Iraq War 2, if you want to call it that, or the 2003 invasion. I never know what to call it. Do you call it the 2003 invasion of Iraq? Do you call it Gulf War 2?
I think they call it the Iraq War of 2003.
Yeah, that'll do. We'll take that one.
The 2003 Iraq War.
Yeah. So then obviously it comes out on video, and then the DVD release is in 2004, but they re-release it in cinemas as well because of the war in Iraq in 2004. And Russell made a documentary called Soldiers Pay that was about the 2003 conflict, and it looked at both sides of the fighting, and he interviewed soldiers for it. And he said, on release, every Iraqi I know is glad that Saddam's gone. I would completely disagree with Michael Moore about that. I think it's good that Saddam's gone, and I think basically the movie takes a position of, is Iraq better off without Saddam? Yes. Is the world better off with this war? Not sure. I don't think so. Now, the movie was, I think, seen to be a controversial issue by Warner Brothers because they scrapped the release of the documentary around that re-release, and because it was seemed to be them to be quite controversial. But it was later picked up by IFC, which is an independent film channel in America, and it was aired before the night of the 2004 presidential election that saw Bush win his second term. And a lot of people some theorizers think that Bush would have lost that term if it wasn't for the war. So it's quite interesting there. I just think it's interesting that this movie has a bit more longevity because they go back to Iraq, but more on that in final thoughts as well. But one of my favourite scenes is that end set piece where they attack the bunker that Wahlberg is held in. Because they pretend they're Saddam's motorcade. You get the guy coming in the car being like, Saddam's coming here and he's going to kill you all. And then they all look at each other going, well, this is bullshit. So they all start kind of running away. And then Clooney and everyone turns up in their cars. and then they assault the sort of bunker that he's in. But you get the "If You Leave Me Now" song, the easy
Yeah,
listening tape that Elgin and Vig have sort of argued about before,
that's a good scene too.
which is cool. But then you get my
I
favorite
think I
part.
think Ice Cube is pretty strong in
He's
this.
really good in it too. The casting is really great here.
I
I
think
think it's
he
one of
has
the
a bit of
stronger
nuance
things.
to the character, and I
Yeah,
think it's solid.
he's great. And then you get my favorite moment, really, which is it always. I think it's the reason why I love this film because, like, what 7-year-old, 8-year-old me probably caught it on Channel 4 or whatever, or Film 4, where Ice Cube uses their last NFL football bomb to take out the helicopter. And it's such a, I just love it. It's so goofy and funny. I just love it. Because it's like, okay, yeah, I'll get behind that. It's just weird. But
Well,
yeah,
they
and then
set
we
it up
get,
in the first act. It's
they do, they really do. Chekhov's
Chekhov's
football.
C4 laden football. You know.
Yeah, I think it's great. And then Halbert is shot, Troy, and we get another
Mm,
shot of inside his body, which echoes earlier.
hmm
And then he has to release that valve, and it's just really
Yeah.
good. And I like the end. Also enjoy the end
How does
sequence where
Spike Jones's character die from a through and through collarbone
just does.
wound? I guess it's shock. Probably shock. He
Probably
just went
shock,
shock.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And then you get them trying to get into Iran, and they're all being like, "Well, you have to let them through. Like, come on, we can get there." And then they try to arrest Archie and the lads.
Gee, I hope we get into Iran.
Yeah, oh yeah, hot topic at the moment. But yeah, I like that sequence because it, to me, yet again,
The
it kind
film's like,
of,
this is a good outcome for these people.
yeah, yet again, it's like, but yet again, it's that whole kind of allegory for American foreign policy where it's like, you're going to leave the country. Everyone watching this movie knows that the Americans left and the coalition left and didn't deal with Saddam and only really did a few airstrikes in the mid 90s, but nothing of any real merit to help the uprising. Which, if you ask me as a historian, could have easily quelled Saddam in 1991 too. Just didn't want to. But no, I think that whole bit is interesting because you've got the American might of the American army turning up to stop these people leaving a war zone, which I think is just absolutely
Yeah.
weird to think about. But anyway, we're kind of sliding into final thoughts. So I think we should do as we always do, slide into them final thoughts.
Before we continue, I will say that I love the scene where the milk truck is destroyed because they think it's a suicide truck.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's a great little sequence. Oh, you know, we didn't mention in the alley tally
Mm.
the random French medic that turns up,
Oh yeah.
and he's in like the French, is it CL or CE?
Yes.
Desert CE kind of
Yes.
like camouflage. Really nice inclusion.
Good to have it in.
Shows there's a coalition at work.
Exactly.
You know,
Would have been nice to see some British lads just somewhere.
yeah,
Would have been nice to see
scimitar
it.
turn up or something.
Yeah, exactly. Be like, what you doing here? And they'll be like, what you doing here? Or something like that. And they just go their separate ways. That'd be quite funny. I've got it. It's a solid war adventure hybrid with that Kelly's Heroes feel. But by the end of the film, it starts to say a lot more about the end of that war and how the West treated the Iraqi people after not really finishing the job properly in the end of that conflict as much as they could have done. And it's, as I say, reflected in the end with those American troops turning up to stop the refugees getting out. And I'm just sitting there thinking, like, well, why? Like, your whole point of fighting this war was to help the people or get rid of this dictator, and you're stuck behind a bureaucracy and military sort of way of doing things where you have to, you can't just let these men that have absconded from their service to go and nick some gold, which is a complete MacGuffin. But then it starts to say more about that human aspect of that, and it's a much deeper film in that regard. And I think it could sound hyperbolic, but I think it says a lot more about the 2003 Iraq War unintentionally now. And I think that's why this movie's always endured for me, because you can see it from two points of the spectrum. And I always think this movie does not get made by Warner Brothers after September 2001. There is no way this movie gets made. I've always felt that. Yeah, it's one of my favourite post SPR, that kind of 1997 to 2002-ish war movie, big budget war movie glut that we had. It's one of my favourite ones. I think it's really great.
Yeah, I enjoy it. I enjoyed it, and it's one we've been meaning to do for a while. It's got some decent little set pieces, and it has a different flavour to them. I think I read that Russell didn't want to have them be too, actiony. So you end up with that strange slow motion initial gunfight, which is interesting. It's reminiscent of kind of some of the 70s stuff, and Mexican standoff vibes. There's a vibe of that to this as well. It has the whole road movie / heist premise thing going for it. Decent script, some really well written dialogue.
I think so.
Pretty good direction. Really good performances, I think. I really like Clooney in this. It's Clooney before he becomes. Well, it's Clooney as he reaches his pinnacle, isn't it?
It's like this
and then he's kind of like been at that level, right, straight through since, more or less.
No, I argue this is one of his strongest 90s turns. I do think so, and I obviously his beef with the director is quite good to read on the Wikipedia if you're interested.
Yeah, exactly. The Wikipedia is worth a read.
Russell seems to butt heads with a lot of people.
He does. He seems to be. Less said about that, the better. Read his Wikipedia page if you want to know more about Russell. I will say though that I do feel that it drags a little in places, and I feel that once you get that climax of the rescue of Wahlberg's character, I kind of feel that the film is on a slow decline in the last 15.
I do admit
where you kind of know that the refugees are probably going to get through, but the film does the predictable bait of like, no, they're going into a holding pen, the US Army's stopping them, and then they give up the gold, and that gets them through. But yeah, it's a decent film, and as you say, I think it's important because it's part of that Gulf War film record, which isn't very big.
It's the only one other one that comes to mind is Jarhead, and that's a movie, kind of an anti-war one as well. You could argue this is anti-war too. I really enjoy it. I think the cast is great. I think it's aged very well. And yeah, just we need more Gulf War films because we just haven't got that many. And yeah, I'm pleased that my Patreon pick was picked. So guess who will win? Let's find out who will win next month. We'll find out.
And if you want to help vote, you can join the Patreon, and you can vote on the Patreon picks every month and help us pick a film. You can listen to our war movie adjacent special podcast, and you can put questions to guests, and we have some good ones coming up in the next month or so.
We hope so.
So well worth joining the Patreon to put questions to guests that are up and coming.
And another War Movie Adjacent will be hitting the Patreon very soon. Matt's in America, so it might be a week away.
End of the month.
End of the month. End of the month. We don't want to be having to sort of try and do recordings when he's in America, because we tried that once and the hotel Wi-Fi you had was so bad that the episode didn't even transcribe properly, and that show never went to air. So a little bit of folklore for you there.
Yes, I remember,
you remember that one, don't you?
Quite vividly.
Yeah.
I will also say that you can download Real Report Issue 1 for free from the Patreon page. No need to join as a paid member for that, though it will be appreciated. And that is our first edition of our new magazine, which we've mentioned earlier in the show.
Yeah, another one of those will be coming 3 months' time. Yeah, something like that.
Aiming for quarterly on those, aren't we? And I will say, we have always kind of planned that we'd like listeners to kind of contribute as well and provide some pieces. Yeah. So we'll talk more about that and how people can get involved in the future.
Yeah. Anyway, no large question this week because I forgot to post it. So the large question will return next week. My large question is, when am I going to get rid of this bug? That's the real large question
soon,
this week.
Hopefully.
Yes, and we wish Matt very well for his trip to America. He's going to be going to look at SHOT Show, some very interesting firearms. I'm sure he'll tell us all about it when he returns. Yeah, so, as always, keep it locked to Fighting on Film. All that good stuff. You've been the listeners. We've been Fighting on Film. I took a really drowsy flu and cold tablet before we started.
I told you to catch up. I told you it would. I knew it would.
It's doing its job.
Operation Sleepy Podcast. That's what's happened here.
Another pod next week. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye. Thanks for listening.